like to invite everyone to have a look at the following 6 pictures and have a guess which one is the urban village. What if I tell you that all of these 6 pictures are urban villages from different parts of the world? Most of them are from Asia. The first picture is from Malaysia, the second one is from Shenzhen, China, the third and fourth are from Bangkok, Thailand. Though I'm a science student, I always love exploring the connection between social humanity and modern development. Over the past few years, I was researching about urban villages, and this is my first impression. Like the pictures behind, we have always fallen into stereotypes of things because of what people say. Even when we search pictures online, it actually affects our perception. The biggest problem is not about urban villages, it lies in how we are taught to see them. Nowadays, most of these historical communities are being destroyed by demolition. Items, buildings, histories, and even memories are fading in a process called modernization. We try to justify destroying them, but what if we put ourselves in the shoes of local residents? Who decides what modernization is? Can we try to understand what these communities mean to people? Only through understanding could there be a new way to rethink and reimagine things. Last year, on June 21st, my life changed because I visited the urban village for the first time in my life and lived there for 10 days. The village is in Longgang, which took me an hour and a half to reach there. When I arrived, local volunteers guided me through the village. As I was touring around, it seems to me that it's different from what I initially thought. The village didn't make me feel suffocating or overwhelmingly crowded. It certainly wasn't chaotic or dangerous, as no one wants to hurt anyone else. The villagers are actually very simple and warm-hearted. The buildings were old, but they instilled history. You could see architectural style ranging from the middle 20th century all the way to the 21st century. But what the village has is far more than this. Stories and memories live in people. Through conversations and interviews with local residents, I began to re-observe the village through their eyes. They told us about the village's past and present, and about everyday lives in the village. An elderly grandma even showed us stories that stayed with her for 40 years since she was married. She told us about the stories behind each item and the morals they represent. For our visitors, we hadn't heard anything similar like that in anywhere else. They were vivid and alive, and through them, the community became something we could genuinely understand rather than merely observe. Understanding something has 2 meanings. One is what people teach you about. The other one is what you learn from what you see. I had a third meaning of it after I met Granny Lin. Understanding the significance of it, not just as a participant perspective. Granny Lin is over 80 years old, and she has lived in a village for almost her entire life. She's one of the oldest Hakka residents there. When we met her, she eagerly sang traditional Hakka songs for us, holding the small microphone that she carries with her everywhere she goes. At first, I thought it was simply her hobby, just an elderly woman holding on to something traditional, nothing more. But once she began singing, she couldn't stop. One song after another, again and again. Her face turned red from excitement. Even though her body was strongly shaking, she refused to rest. At that moment, I realized that it was not just her pure love for singing. It was much more than that. It's her love for her Hakka identity, her culture, and her life in that village. In her eyes, I sensed a quiet longing to be understood. Their stories deserve to be heard. But for elders like Gwendolyn, time is running out. If we do not take actions, these stories, the memories, the singings, the identities, and even Hakka culture will fade away with them forever. So we decided to do more than just listen. We gathered the stories shared by the residents and transformed them into a sing play. The Hakka songs, traditional local food of Chaguo, the first market in the village, are all the elements we used in our play. As I watched the children laugh and engage, and saw elderly smiling with excitement, I realized that I'm no longer a passive receiver. I'm a storyteller, an advocate, with the understanding to the hidden treasures in the community. This experience actually makes me reflect on the question: what if there's a method that can be taught to help us reimagine things? Well, actually, to reimagine anything that we have labels on. Through the journey, I realized the power of understanding and taking actions. Based on those experiences, I come up with my own method called the OPA method, which stands for Observer, Participant, and Advocate. These three roles allow us to rethink and reimagine how we view something from not important to very important. Let's recap on the urban village experience. Before stepping into the village, I was an observer. An observer forms judgment from a distance based on appearance, media narratives, and assumptions. And distance often creates bias. Take the Shipai village as an example. It's a typical urban village in Guangzhou, having a history for more than 100 years. When we first look at it, we are likely to assume that it is a place that left behind by the city's rapid development. We see narrow streets, damp walls, dim corridors, crowded buildings, all the characteristics that seems to point to a poor living condition. But wait, before we recklessly conclude it as outdated, there's something we have ignored, and assumption kills. The village hosts nearly 100,000 permanent residents. Its annual rental income reached close to 400 million RMB. This is not a marginal space. It supports thousands of families in the city. Low cost of living allow workers and young graduates to stay in the city, the place where dream and ambition become possible. Unless we step inside, we will never understand its true value. After stepping into Longgang Urban Village, I changed my position from an observer to a participant. A participant steps inside, listen and experience, while removing assumptions. Let's look at another example. Delanoy is a long-established community located in Bangkok, Thailand. It was initially settled by Chinese immigrants in the late 19th century. Its maze-like alleys challenge visitors to slow down and explore patiently. No one would visit the place unless there's something to attract them. The street art, galleries, coffee shops, etc. Now you're attracted, step in, and you will discover a new world in there. You may step into a mansion that has stood there for 240 years, still managed by the 8th generation of the same clan. You may be curious about piles of metals and car parts you see on the streets. These are the traces of the automobile and mechanical industry that have developed since World War II. I believe every urban village and historical neighborhood, just like Delanoy, can be turned into a living museum and legacy. And that requires not only participation, but advocate. It's moving beyond our personal understanding to actively protect and sustain the cultural value. And that kind of preservation relies on both individual and national effort. Take the Budo Kyle as an example. It is one of the oldest historical communities in Paris, having a history for more than 500 years. It is also an important landmark, having witnessed major events such as Paris Commune in 1871. In the second half of the 20th century, the French government designated as a protected heritage district. But actually, the details of restrictions and policies are shaped by local residents. They organized petitions, spoke at council meetings, and resisted over-commercialization to ensure that local cultural traditions are truly preserved. However, stepping into an urban village or a historical neighborhood also comes with hidden challenges. You may face language barrier, taking for a while to understand what local people are saying. You may get lost in narrow street, where countless alleys are all look the same. You may feel like an outsider, unsure about where to stand, what to say. But perhaps the biggest challenge is confronting our own assumptions. People make about 35,000 decisions per day, and around 40% of them are shaped by unconscious assumptions. We arrive with labels in our minds, which are shaped by distance. But are these challenges resolvable? Yes, as long as people try to use the OPA method. Do you still remember what OPA stands for? Let's do a recap. O stands for observer. P stands for and A stands for great. So reimagination starts from putting down our stereotypes when observing the things in front of you. Is it really what you think? Only when we participate and interact with local residents do we begin to see something different from what our initially thought. Only by understanding the value that lie beneath can we truly become their voice as advocates. And all of the biggest problems in the world can actually be solved by the 3-row formula as a start. But the harder thing is always putting down our stereotypes, our labels. So instead of giving those labels, it's time to reimagine the labels. Perhaps once you step into living museums in our cities, you may discover a very different answer. Are you ready to step in and act? Thank you.